think it's our forever home. I'm not sure. We'll see how the neighbors are. But just to get somebody to come check out the plumbing or paint or check out the HVAC or any of this stuff, it's an arduous process. There's ways to find people, but I have trouble having people like call me back or diagnose the issue, or there's a lot of friction around like, hey, I got to come check it out first, and then I'll come back 2 or 3 days later when I kind of find the part. And I've dealt with this before as a renter and kind of otherwise. Like I know the pain points, but when you put yourself in your customer shoes, what are some other ancillary issues that they're having in their current state and those problems that you're trying to solve?
Yeah, so I think there are a few, like you mentioned some of them, right? Like the access to service is harder and harder because there's more and more demand, less and less, supply, if we want to use marketplace talk, and by supply, I mean, technician capacity. And that means that by nature, it takes longer to get help. There is, like less transparency, less efficiency. And, as a customer, like ultimately what you need is you need to understand what your problem is, which is actually a first hurdle because if you're, buying an iPhone, you know exactly what you're trying to achieve. When it comes to home services, you're not sure what you're buying, like, because you're not really sure what your problem is.
I have no idea what I'm looking at. I am probably a use case for this. Go on. Sorry to cut you off.
And no problem. And unlike when, you're trading goods, here, like every job is different. Like, like every, toilet unclog job is like really different. Like, and like that creates like a anxiety and lack of control for the customer. You're not sure what your problem is. You're not sure what to expect. You're not sure that your thermostat blinking is going to mean just replacing the thermostat for $100 or replacing your full AC system for $5,000. So number one for us is to put the customer back in control of the journey by starting with, like, before we try to solve anything, let's understand your problem. To do that, we use a mix of online content that we provide for free on homex.com and live technicians who are licensed, people who've usually been in the field for like 10, 20, 30 years, who actually remotely start having discussion about like, what's the problem? Like, what are the symptoms? Like, what's happening? And from there, either, it's something that can be fixed remotely, or it cannot be fixed remotely, but like they will give a diagnosis, say, hey, like, like that's what really the issue is. That's what you can expect. These are the parts you will need. Eventually, like put them in touch with a local company or send it ourselves. And like the third piece, which was a bit of a surprise for us, which was really interesting, was people who are just like, they don't necessarily have an issue. They just want to understand like what a job may be. Like, like, hey, like I just moved to a new house. Like, where's the boiler? Like, is it safe if I turn on or off the breaker that's by the boiler? I had no idea. Like, first time, and this like education and learning and like advice giving has been very powerful in creating empowerment, in getting people comfortable with home services experiences that historically have been pretty black box, unsure of the quality. Like, is the right thing happening? Do I really need to do all that work? And give them the choice and transparency.